Hey everybody, most of you know who I am, but for those who don't, my name is Matthew Huff. I'm 27 years old, and this is my story. I was born with a congenital heart defect called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. Um, Basically, that means the left side of my heart was underdeveloped. Um, I was born with half a heart. In layman's terms, um, I had 3 open heart surgeries before the age of 5, and then I was semi okay, I like to say, until I was 16. I tried to live a normal life like all my friends and the other kids. I went to school and I did mostly everything, I could do. But when I turned 16, I ran into some trouble. I started having chest pains and shortness of breath. Um, so we went to the doctors, my cardiologist, and for about a year we did tests and procedures trying to figure out what was going on. And unfortunately, nothing was working. It was showing everything was fine. Um, we suspected at the beginning it was heart failure, but they were saying it wasn't because of the symptoms and I guess me not showing the right symptoms. So after that year, my doctor said, why don't we try a medicine called Milrinone? Now, this medicine is basically a miracle drug, and if you are in heart failure, it helps you until you need a heart transplant. So what we did was we put a PICC line in my arm and it went to my heart. And within, I'd say, 48 hours, my chest pains and trouble breathing went away. I was at Children's Hospital for 2 weeks being monitored. And the day I got to go home from the hospital, my doctor came in and said, well, first he sat down and he looked at me, and first he didn't say anything. Then he said, Matthew, he's like, you're in heart failure. And when you tell a 16-year-old kid that, well, really, what would you say? So I said nothing at first. So I went home and tried to process the best I could. And that's when it really all sunk in. 16 years old and I need a heart, or I'm basically gonna die. So I didn't want that. So we did the evaluation. It took about, I'd say, a week and a half, and then you have to be approved for the transplant. Thankfully, I was approved. Insurance covered it. I was on the heart transplant list for a year and 3 months. Now, granted, that year and 3 months I was doing testing and procedures to get me ready for this heart transplant. And unfortunately, some of the testing did not work and actually made me worse, and I'm still dealing with it today. But I'm very grateful. I wouldn't change anything. So on September 14th of 2017, I was actually in Children's Hospital, staying, and at 6:30 in the morning, I got a call from my doctor. My nurse brought in the phone, and first I couldn't believe it. And he asked me, he's like, do you want the heart? And they have to ask you that because it's your choice if you want this. Even though you went through all that evaluation and procedures and testing, at the end of the day, it's your choice. Well, granted, me being me, I'm like, well, yeah, I want it. I would like to live and continue to live. So throughout that day, we did more testing and procedure, and this is to be done just to make sure everything's still okay for the surgery to be done. So at 7:30 p.m. they finally took me down for the heart transplant. I said, as I say, I don't like to say goodbyes. I said, I'll see you later. The surgery itself, with the prep, getting through the scar tissue, and there was a lot of bleeding. I'd say the total is about 15 to 18 hours from what I remember everybody telling me. And then I was actually up that night out of bed, walking, and they thought I was going to be in the hospital for a couple months. From the day I went in for the surgery, I was in and out in 2 weeks. And I was like, I mean, heck, I'll take it. Better than months. So before I had my transplant, a couple days before September 14th, I met 2 incredible people that I consider great friends of mine, Randy Bauman and Bill Crawford. But we'll come back to that towards the end of the video. Fast forward, it's been 8.5 years. I've had some ups and downs. I'd like to say more ups than downs, even though it's probably the other way around with the medical side of everything. I developed what's called AFib and A-flutter. It's where your heart starts to beat real fast and goes out of rhythm. But thankfully, as of right now, that is all under control. A couple years ago, I was developed with a disease called cardiac allograft vasculopathy, CAV for short. There's 3 levels to this disease. The first and second you really don't have to worry about. It's the third is where it gets pretty serious. So this past January, I've been having some trouble with my heart, and it's, when you think about it, you think it's one and done, but a heart transplant is not a cure nor a fix to any of this. It just adds 100 more issues and problems. So I'm going to jump back real quick. Before my first heart transplant, which is wild to think, my doctor told me in 5 to 10 years that I'm going to need another one. Now, mind you, I didn't even have the first one. So how would you know that I'm going to need one in 5 to 10 years? So just think about that for a second. So getting back to where we are now, in January, we knew my heart wasn't doing so well. So fast forward to now, it's been about a month and a half. I've been in the hospital 3 times. Great hospital, Presbyterian of Pittsburgh. Love all the doctors, love all the nurses, are great here. Same when I was at Children's, everybody's great. I wouldn't trade them for the world. On my second time out of the 3 stays in the last month and a half, my doctor, he came in and we were talking, and he finally diagnosed me with the level 3 of CAV. Now what this is, your coronary arteries deep inside your heart start to narrow and close. And there's nothing they can do for this disease other than a retransplant. And this is CAV is the #1 reason for a retransplant. And unfortunately, I've developed this disease. And now granted, this does not scare me. It doesn't put me down. I just think everything happens for a reason. And unfortunately, it happened. So he came in, he told me, he diagnosed me with the level 3. He told me I would need a heart within a year to year and a half, he gives me. Now, mind you, this is a very progressive disease and it can happen fast. This was 6 weeks ago. The last last week I was in the hospital. They're like, you need a heart now. So I went home last Saturday and, I did some stuff and got some stuff situated. I talked to the doctors Thursday. And they're like, listen, you need to come in. You're at high risk for sudden cardiac death. I'm like, I understand. I said, just give me this weekend and I'll come back. So, today's Monday, April 13th of 2026. And I came back like I said I would. They're going to put an Impella 5.5 into my aorta, and I will stay in the ICU until when or if, because that's just the reality. You do not know if you're gonna get a heart. I like to say it really is the luck of the draw, because there's thousands of people waiting for a heart every day. I was fortunate enough to get a second chance at life. That's not something that happens every day. Now I'm getting a third chance at life. I'm pretty lucky, I'd say, and I'm very fortunate. And I truly appreciate everything and everyone that has been in my life from day one, and all the new friendships I've made throughout this. I really couldn't do it without my support system, just because, who could do this without anybody? I'm going to be honest and truthful. I know I couldn't. I can barely keep it together with everybody's support, because I truly appreciate everybody, and just everything everybody does for me. I wish I wasn't in this position, but who would want to be in this position? You don't know what the outcome's going to be. That's just, like I said, the reality of everything. I'm not going to, my first donor, I'm not going to forget him. And, I'm going to keep advocating with this next donor, the organ I get. That's really what I do this for. I don't do it for me. I do it for everybody that is going to be affected by, an organ transplant. I just don't advocate for hearts. I advocate for every organ, and congenital heart defect, because, I was affected by both of them, and I think they are very important to me, and it means a lot to me. I even started my own nonprofit. It's called Huffy's Heroes, and it's dedicated to the cardiac unit in the CICU and Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. We're still getting started up, but it's slowly growing. It's just a 3-man team right now. So, but we'll get there. We're just trying to help as many families affected by congenital heart defects and heart transplants. But yeah, I say, I got an extra 8 years. I'm very grateful for it. Every day I wake up is a day that, I wouldn't have had if it wasn't for my donor. And I'll be honest, it only takes, it's less than 60 seconds to sign up to become an organ donor. And if you are an organ donor, I appreciate it, and it truly means a lot to me. And I know I have some friends who are living donors, and it means a lot to them also. I have young friends that were affected by this, and they have also received heart transplants. So, you're not doing it just for me or you. You're helping many people, because if you are an organ donor, you're able to help up to 8 people, and so just think of that. I know I'm not telling you to sign up to be an organ donor. I'm just saying consider it, because you truly, you could help somebody, and the tissue donor, you can save up to 75 lives. So, it's a lot of lives to save. I know myself, I'm an organ donor, and I wouldn't change it. Now, granted, I know I can't donate my heart, but whenever I can donate, I'll make sure it gets donated to save somebody's life. Um, but you know, needing a second heart transplant, it's not something, you know, like, not to reiterate, but to get that third chance, you know, I'm very grateful that, not that I want to be in this position, but I'm glad I have the team I have and the support system. I know in the end, everything's going to be all right. And, you know, never know what's going to happen once I get out of here. So, but to get back to Randy and Bill, we're going to talk about Bill. You know, he has our Pittsburgh podcast. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. First 2 episodes are out. Episode 3 is coming out today. So definitely give that a listen. Might hear shout out to me. Can't say for sure, but just go ahead and give that a listen. But what Bill and me are doing, I'm gonna get back into my YouTubing, and I'm gonna be doing hopefully some unboxing videos, and some letters are gonna be sent to me. I want you to write letters and just ask me questions, and I'll be answering them. I wanna make this channel about, you know, just uplifting, organ donation, and, you know, just teach you about congenital heart defects, and just give you updates about what's going on with me every week. I just want to teach you about this stuff. But if you have questions, you know, write them in the comments, send letters. My P.O. box is Matthew Huff, P.O. Box 16, Connellsville, PA 15425. We'll definitely be answering your questions. Who knows, might be having some guests on here. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun time, and I can't wait to make the video for the day I get to tell you I get a new heart. That's gonna be great. Great for me, great for you listeners and viewers out there. Please share, Bill's podcast, and that's our Pittsburgh podcast. You can find that on YouTube, and you can find him on Facebook at it's Bill Crawford, and then, you know, my channel's at Hangin with Huffy, and I'll be putting my socials on there, but yeah, please tune back in. We're gonna be doing this. I'd like to say right now, every Tuesday and Friday, I'm gonna try and put 2 videos out a week if I can. But yeah, like I said, please come back, and thanks for hanging with Huffy.